I'll start now. So I want to thank Father Tony and everybody else who welcome us here. So I'm just going to do a short talk today because there is not a lot of people, but I'm just going to tell you briefly who Maria and I are and why we are doing what we are doing. I'm going to present 3 paintings today. I could present the 20 of them, but each one of them can take an hour, but I'll spend just 5 minutes on each one of them just to give you a taste of what we are doing. And then I'll give you 7 reasons why you should purchase them. Okay. So I'll start with Maria, who is my lovely wife. She's a very devout Catholic, and contrary to me, she has a formal education in Catholicism. She has a degree of theology from Steubenville University, so she knows what she's talking about. I don't, but she watched my back, so I don't paint or say anything which is heretical, otherwise she will correct me. And actually it's half a joke, but it's important because when you go and speak about the Eucharist in art, you can make some mistake. I am a sinner. I've been away from the church for many, many years, and I came back, and coming back, I realized that, or I relearned that the Eucharist, who is Jesus, is the summit and the fount of the faith. So let me repeat that, because this is the heart of everything I'm talking about today. The Eucharist is the summit and the fount of our faith. The summit, it's obvious, it's a top, there is nothing higher than that. We talk about Jesus with God, he's on the top. And the fount, because everything flows from there. And that's really important to keep that in mind, because when we speak about spirituality and religion, often we get distracted by the end product, which is, some rituals, some rules, some habits, some tradition, which are not wrong, but sometimes there is room to disagree and agree and change things. So that's why I like to go back to the top, to the source and the summit. So when you start from there, is much less chance to make a mistake and do things or believe things that are wrong. And to me, it's important. And also it goes with the gospel that we heard today of Martha and Mary, because since you are listening to this talk, you are like Mary. You take a break, instead of going back home and doing whatever, you decided to stay and look at the Eucharist. Who is Jesus again? Or at least a representation of the Eucharist. And I think there is a lot of value into that. That's the reason I start to make this painting, because when I start to meditate on the Eucharist, it's difficult because the brain I have is a scientific brain, and very quickly there is a disconnect between what I can test and what I know from my faith. And the only way I can express it is through art, because there is a part that I don't understand, but at least I can put it on a canvas and try to start to make sense of it, or try to express what I don't believe or I don't really understand. So that aspect is really important for me. So I'm not going to say, I can keep talking about the Eucharist, but because I'm not a good talker and a good writer, I realize I'm a much better painter. And how do we say that? A picture is worth of 1,000 words. So I'm going to start with this painting, which is relatively recent. I call it I Am. Like every single one of my paintings, in the center you have the Eucharist, which is this part here. And in the middle of it, you can read something. And because I'm French, I wrote Je suis, which means I am, which is the name of God, which is the Eucharist. So again, everything is centered there. When you look at it for a minute, you realize that it is a burning bush. So here, this is kind of a prefiguration of the Eucharist. When Moses was his mountaintop experience seeing the burning bush, he was in presence of the great I Am, which is a term that Jesus called himself when he was asked by Pontius Pilate, "Are you the Son of God?" He said, "I am." And all the Jews knew that what he was meaning. He was meaning, "I'm God." And that's what put him in trouble. That's what brought him to the cross. Around the Eucharist, you can see a crown of thorn, which was what the crown that Jesus was wearing during his passion. And some scholars say that actually the wood that was used for the crown of thorn was the same, made of the same material that the bush of Modé, the burning bush. I can say a lot of more things on that, but there is another point which is really important in my personal life with this painting, is that when you think about Moses, he did a lot of things. He went back to Egypt, he freed people, he went in the desert for 40 years, we all know the story. But he did nothing until he was in presence of God, until he really knew who God was, or at least he had a very strong understanding for himself of who God was. Nothing happened. And I think for me it was really important to realize that who is the Eucharist. Until I didn't realize, I think nothing could happen really good in my life. I did good things I know before, but then there is a qualitative step that comes. So that's why I'm painting all these paintings, because I think each one of us need to, slow down, meditate on what is the Eucharist, and listen to what he has to say to us. Because, the Eucharist is a person, is Jesus. When we receive life. Jesus is alive. Even if scientifically it doesn't make sense, we know through our faith that the Eucharist is Jesus is alive. We receive something or somebody alive inside of our body. That to me is mind-blowing. So that's what is expressed in that painting. And there is more, but you can also discover by yourself if you spend time and instead of surfing on the internet looking at this image for 10 seconds, you can look at it for hours and hours and slowly realizing what is in it. And you can discover things that I didn't intend it. This happens all the time. So I'm going to leave this one and speak about the next one, which is my last painting, the most recent I have. It's called In the Midst of Them. This painting is very simple. And it's easy to make a simple painting. It's sometimes complicated, but again, you have the Eucharist in the middle. You can see it's broken in half. He's glowing because he's God. When the priest on the altar break the Eucharist, you have fragments that fall. You can't avoid it. That's why he has this special cloth to collect the pattern, to collect them, such that nothing is lost. It's important because through Catholic teaching, we know that every single fragment of the Eucharist is Jesus entirely. If you break it in 100 pieces, each one piece is 100% Jesus. Okay? So the priest obviously knows that, and he doesn't want to lose any fragment. And he's very careful with his fingers, with all the fragments, and that's fine. The reason why I paint it is because there is another step that most of us ignore or don't pay attention or have not been taught, which is when we receive, especially when we receive in hand, we consume the Eucharist, but very often they are fragments because you can't avoid it. Not 100% of the time, but when I start to realize that and pay attention what I had in my hand, I realize that you have fragments of Jesus. So if I receive in a hand, I would look in the palm of my hand and see if there is fragment. If there is fragment, I will just collect them and consume them. I've done that for a long time. Now I receive on the tongue because that's the safe way to not lose any pieces. And this has been taught for centuries in a church. That has been a debate that started on the 3rd century, and there are books and teaching that have not been taught to me and Maria. We rediscovered that there is a bishop, Bishop Schneider, who just published a book only on that subject. And it's a very simple solution. The thing that makes me uncomfortable is when I go to a parish and I realize that many people don't know that, and most likely they receive fragment in their head, and they walk, and some fall on the ground. So now I'm going to receive communion, and I'm walking on Jesus. That is not cool. And so I'm saying that to all of us to be careful, but I'm saying that to the clergy and the priest and the deacon who need to teach that, or tell me that I'm wrong. We can have a debate. Tell me I'm wrong and we'll see. But if I'm not, they need to say something different. I did a quote on this painting that say, "Gather up the fragment that remain, lest they be lost," from John 6:12, which is the passage in the gospel where you have the multiplication of bread, and Jesus told his apostle, gather the fragment. So, that goes with that. On a symbolic level here, you have 12 fragments here, like the 12 apostles, and you have 72 tiny small fragments, like the 72 disciples that he sent at one point to preach the gospel. It's somewhere else in the gospel. So, something to think about. So I'm going to start with this one, and I will go in quickly on the last one for today, which is, which actually I don't have a title for this one because I didn't understand fully what I want to say with this. And the reason why I don't know what I want to say is because when I paint, what I do, I go on my knees, I pray, I have a specific prayer that I pray, and often I paint very quickly. And the painting takes life by itself, and sometimes it takes a long time for me to realize what I'm painting. The painting comes alive by itself. I also use holy water to dilute my acrylic paint, and it helps. And I pray that each painting is made for a very specific person. It's happened that somebody will realize that this painting is made for him or for her. And if it's one of you, then go ahead and buy it, it's yours. I've painted several paintings like this one where you have a feminine silhouette, which, in blue, which obviously is Mary, but it's also each one of us. That's why there is no clear face. It can be you, it can be me. This person, this Mary, is pregnant with the Eucharist. And like us, we are kind of pregnant when we receive. We receive Jesus in us, and then he has to grow and become something, some achievement that we can do. But again, it takes time to have that. What I painted under the Eucharist is the symbol that many of us know from the Divine Mercy, from Saint Faustina, where she had a vision of Jesus from her heart, and there was this ray of white and red coming out of her, of him. So now the Divine Mercy is coming from the Eucharist, and is, piercing a dragon, which obviously is the devil. So I can't explain you exactly, what this means, but each one of us can have an interpretation and see that when we receive, there is a byproduct that is holy, that can help us to fight our own temptation, our own devils. But it goes through a process of mercy, which, we often don't see that like this. And I almost forget to mention that on the top, I put a quote in Latin, which said, "Nuquam Draco sit mihi dux," which means, "Let the dragon not be my guide." This comes from the Saint Benedict medal, which has this writing on it, which is an exorcism. The next sentence of that, the next verse, is, "Let the cross be my guide." And there is an entire prayer that goes around that. So I don't want the dragon to be my guide either. So this is the process by which I think it's happened for me, and maybe for some of you, through the Eucharist, through Divine Mercy, through letting Jesus growing in us slowly and achieving what he wants us to achieve. So I think that's all what I'm going to say now for these 3 paintings, but as I said at the beginning, I'm going to give you 7 reasons why you should buy this painting or the prints that we make for this. So, and I have a list because I don't want to forget anything. So, right, the first reason is half of a joke, but not fully. It's I have no more room for storage. I've made plenty of these paintings. My lovely wife will be very happy if you help me to get rid of some of them, because we have a small place and it's a lot, and so that's the first reason. The second reason is these paintings are nice. I know they are nice, they are very colorful, and this is a change because when you look at modern art these days, it's either dark or meaningless. Many paintings are in a gray, dark tone, and I really don't like that. And when they are colorful, they're absolutely meaningless. It's totally abstract, and that's not really interesting to me. So, for a change, these paintings are colorful and meaningful. There is nothing more meaningful than God. So that's my second reason. Okay, my third reason is they are a good investment. We are selling them very cheap for painting. They have been estimated to 5 to 10 times more than the price we are selling them. Because it's hard to have original art in your place. It's really expensive, and I don't need that as a living. So we can afford to sell them at a very low price. Such people have that in their place, and it's different. It's something that is original art. When you have that, nobody else has it. Right. The fourth reason is we are selling that for a good cause, which is the bombing that happened in Beirut. We're in a Maronite parish. People are Lebanese here. We hope that the money will go there and help these 300,000 people who are homeless right now. And that's the fourth reason. The fifth reason is these paintings are a constant reminder of our faith. It's very, very easy to forget what we believe. That's why there is advertisement on TV. They want you to remember to buy the next Nike shoes, and you hear that 20 times a night when you watch a movie. They want to remind you all the time. And very few people remind us of what is really important in life, what is really your faith. So when you have that in your living room, you don't forget about it. Especially these paintings, which are a little bit different than what you think about religious art. The sixth reason is, as I told you 2 minutes ago, each painting is made for one person. I pray that the person will recognize it and say, okay, I need that painting. I don't know exactly why, and it happened at least 4 or 5 times that some people told me that they must have it. So if you have something, stirring up in your heart that, I need this painting. And it's too expensive, we can never negotiate a price, but if you need to have it, take it. And the last and most important reason is that these are tools of evangelization, because when you put one painting like this one, or any of them, in your living room, and you have a friend who comes, or a family member which is away from the church, it's a story which is not judgmental, it's art. It's not like the paintings say, oh, you need to do this, you must go to church, you have to stop smoking or whatever because it's a sin. It's not that at all. It's telling you that in the church here, in the tabernacle, which is a small box that you have in a center of the church, you have Jesus, you have God who is present all the time. I mean, if that is not a mind-blowing idea, I don't know what it is. Because when life is hard, that's where you go. That's where, even when life is easy. So you put that on a wall, and people come and say, oh, what is that? It happened to me all the time, because if you don't know what this painting is about, somebody asks this question, what is that? What is that is a literal translation of manna. When the Jews were in a desert with Moses and they find this stuff on the ground, which is the manna, they say, oh, what is that? That means manna. They have no idea what it was. And so the manna, which is the bread from heaven, is a prefiguration of Jesus with the Eucharist. So when somebody asks me, oh, what is that? I say, I tell this story. And now you initiate something, some conversation about Jesus, about God. And as I said at the beginning, that's a font of our faith. Everything flows from there. And it forces me to know what I'm talking about, because then there is question, and we don't know everything, but at least that's a very good starting point, which is, again, not judgmental, not, nothing else than an expression of your faith. And we all grow into that. So I think that's all what I have to say today. If you have questions, I'll be glad to take them. And thank you again for Father Antoine Sab, who gave me the opportunity to do this talk and this exhibit. Thank you.